Hello, my name is John Joseph Gomes, and welcome to the Artist Spotlight, a local talk show that will focus on and highlight artists in and around the community of Rhode Island, actors, musicians, and visual artists. We work very hard to do what we do in hopes that you'll go out and see what we're doing on weekends or weeknights, and we basically do it for the love of it in the hopes that you'll love it too. Today's short talk show guests are Kevin Broccoli, a local actor in theater. He's also a director and a producer, and a local actress by the name of Sarah Nicklin, who does a lot of local films within the community, and she's just branched out into doing a lot of directing. We hope you enjoy the show. Kevin Broccoli and Sarah Nicklin, I want to thank you very much for being the first guests on my talk show, the Artist Spotlight. Now, the first question I have for both of you is, Sarah, you are mainly known for doing a lot of film in Rhode Island and the community of New England. I know you have done theater, but you mainly focused on film. And Kevin, you do a lot of theater in the state.
And virtually no film.
And virtually no film. You did make a cameo in a little mini web series on the internet.
That's right.
But I want to know why focus on film so much and why focus on theater so much. Have you ever thought about crossing over to a majority? What makes you stay focused on those two mediums of acting?
For me, I think I like for film that it's a collaborative effort to create the final product. I feel like with theater, it's much more once it's up, it's the actors and that's the performance you get. I mean, yes, there's the set, yes, there's a lot that's gone in behind it, but once the show goes up, that's it. Whereas with film, it's more, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes even once the actors are done. And your performance, a lot of the time, is not necessarily completely controlled by you. I mean, it's controlled by the editor, it's controlled by the way that they're gonna, the takes that they're gonna choose. So it's not just left up to the actors, it's more of a group effort to put together a film. I also like that you get multiple takes.
Multiple takes are a good thing.
so if you mess up, you can keep on going.
I guess I like doing theater then because I'm a control freak. I want complete control. No, I actually like it because I like the idea that there's no right. There will never be a final product. That every night there's a different final product, and there's no sense of like, okay, we either got what we needed or we didn't. You're constantly discovering new things as you go, even in performance. You're not necessarily changing things because you don't want a director hunting you down and killing you. But but you're discovering new things. You have different audiences. You're constantly getting a new experience out of it. I just like the fact that it's this this experience right up until the end where you have this opportunity to discover new things about the role you're doing and the show you're in and the text and stuff. So that kind of appeals to me about doing theater in terms of doing theater.
Now, but what about what she said with the finished product? I mean, once it's out there and it's for people to see, you'll never. That's it. When you're constantly, when you're doing theater, trying to improve it. Does that appeal to you at all? Or?
The idea of like having it right, I think I don't have anything like against film at all. I'm thinking of like the only thing I ever did while I was in high school, and they needed like high school kids to do this like short demo film for something, and they like put the camera right on me, and I was supposed to be like the geek, the outsider. None of us had any lines, so we were supposed to convey like geek, outsider, goth kid. So I was like geek kid, which they should have just put the camera on me, and it should have been fine. And for some reason, as soon as the camera got on me, I like made all these weird facial expressions, like I was having nervous tics, and didn't realize it. And like then I would go back and watch it, and I'd go, "What am I doing?" And then I go back. So it's like it was that whole idea of like, okay, you've got to get this right at some point. Like there is a time constraint with which you have to get this right. And so I think it's just, for me, it's that pressure that I would have a hard time.
Okay.
But I do think at least with film you get the opportunity, like you got to watch yourself.
Yeah.
Which you don't so much get with theater, because a lot of times like I'll do something and I think it's coming across one way, and then I watch it, I'm like, that was not what I thought I was doing at all.
Yeah, I avoid watching myself at all. Someone filmed a part of a show that I was in recently, and I watched it, and I thought that I was like the most loose, like hip. I'm like, oh God, I'm so loose on stage and casual. I watched it. I looked like the Tin Man from The Wizard of Oz, and I wanted to like crawl inside the screen and just start slapping myself. Like, what is wrong with you? Like, and I started calling everyone I know. It was like that scene in Spaceballs when he's like, he zaps himself down, and he's like, what? I don't look like. I was like calling people. I'm like, is that what I look like? Why didn't you all tell me that's what I look like? And they're like, it's it's fine. So I avoid it at all costs.
Sarah, do you find film to be rigid though? Because you have to stay within a frame, you have to hit your mark, and whereas doing theater, there's a lot more freedom. You can control the stage, move around.
I get a lot more nervous doing theater than I do doing films. So I personally feel more rigid in theater because I feel like if I don't hit the marks and have the lines and stuff, that I'm going to throw off the other actors, and that at least with film, if you want to improv on one take, if you want to do something a little different, you can keep doing it again and again, and it doesn't really matter. But if you mess everybody up in theater, it's going to cause a problem.
See, one of the admiration I have for film actors is like, I think there's what's really scary but also cool is that there's virtually no, I think in theater, especially if you're performing in a giant house, you can get away with having a little bit of dishonesty. I think, if you have a camera this far from your face, like there's no way to be dishonest,
No.
it's all there. There's no hiding anything,
It's a different level of pushing through as an actor.
Yeah, and vice versa, I've seen film actors who then do theater, more so like bigger film actors who then go and do Broadway and stuff like that, and they can't push their presence past, their first 3 feet. I saw Julianne Moore in a play 4 years ago, and it was like she couldn't push herself out, she was only 3 feet in. And I kept thinking like, if this were a movie, she'd be killing it. But like, I'm in the cheap seats in the back, honey. Like, you gotta give me something more than this. Yeah.
I think that actually might be part of why I like film better, because I'm generally more of a quiet, more introverted person, so I don't have to push so far if the camera's.
Well, I've seen you on stage though. I had the opportunity to see you in Blackbird at the Warwick Museum of Art, and you were fantastic. And that was an incredibly heavy role, and you pushed it through. It's not a huge venue, but you managed to really hit it, and you managed to get it over the audience and into the audience. So bravo on that.
See, we did Glass Menagerie together, and the funny thing is, I knew you did film, but I didn't like look up any of your stuff. We started we became Facebook friends, and I kept telling everyone, I was like, oh, this girl who's in Glass Menagerie with me is so good, and she's like such a perfect Laura. And then I went and started looking at all these film stuff, and I'm like, Sarah is like a crazy girl. I was like, from this to Laura, and she was a good Laura, and I'm like finding all these photos. I'm like, wow, she's doing even better than I imagined. I was like, oh, wow, okay.
You're not doing so bad there yourself, Mr. Broccoli.
No, but, it was just funny to see from like, I was like, oh, because when we didn't meet each other till like the first rehearsal because we weren't at the same audition together. And I showed up and I was like, oh, thank you, they gave me a pretty Laura. Oh, thank you. I have a pretty Laura to kiss. Oh, thank God. And I'm like, oh, she's perfect. She's a little on the quieter side, and she's like got this character down. And then so then after we'd done the show and I started getting invited to some of your film stuff, I was like, wow, okay, Sarah, there are two sides to that coin. All right.
Yeah, you don't slow down when it comes to doing acting at all. And Kevin, neither do you with your monologue shows and different plays and so forth, which brings me to my next question is, what you write, you direct, you produce, you have your a couple of theater companies, I think, at this point.
Work with
Sarah, you edit as well. You just started directing, from what I understand. Now, did you feel that this is a natural extension as an artist, like to go to the next point, or did you feel it was something you felt you had to do to stay relevant and to compete?
For me, it's because I want to get better at what I do, and I think that to be a good actor, you need to understand all aspects of the venue you're working in. So if it's film, you need to know how lighting works, how sound works, how to edit, how to use a camera, because it's only going to make you better. If you can find your light, if you can project enough for the boom, if it's further away because it's a wide shot, or keeping continuity when editing. I mean, like the first time I sat down to edit and no one's keeping continuity, and like there's like people have a hat on and then a hat off in the next shot, and I mean, I understand how frustrated editors get now, and so now I understand like why people will cut to you for a certain shot, or why they'll cut you out of a certain shot, and why they won't use your best performance. And so understanding how editors work, I can now you know, try to fix at least a lot of those mistakes when I'm acting, and that way they can, you know, help to craft my best takes into the movie rather than, you know, just taking what works for continuity or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, for me, whatever I'm gonna do on the project is just, I think first and foremost I'm an actor, so I read something from an acting point of view first and think, is there anything in here I'd like to play? There are things that I read where, I mean, for me to want to direct something, I have to really love it. Because I think as an actor, you know, you show up, you focus on your role, and you know, you don't necessarily have to love the whole project, especially at times when you're thinking of it as work. Sometimes it's like you need the work and you're doing it for the work and you still do the best you can. But for a director, I always say, like, I have to love it and I have to want to spend 6 weeks with these people, meaning the characters, whoever designers I'm going to get. Like, my life is going to be this show for 6 weeks to 2 months, for longer, you know? So I don't find a lot of stuff that I want to direct because I don't find a lot of stuff I love that much. Because I feel like first and foremost I'm an actor, so the directing thing is something, a hat that I actually have to put on and sort of step into. But that being said, I just did an audition on Thursday for a show I'm going to be directing, and I think every single director should act and vice versa. But especially directors need to act, because what I was really conscious of in the audition was making it a positive experience for the actors coming. You know, I had just been in their shoes the week before. I had just done 2 auditions, and I feel like it's important to know the vulnerability that you have as an actor and to be sensitive to that as a director. Because I think a lot of directors have trouble with that. You know, they're good at directing, but they don't understand that, like, you know, that way to sort of work with actors in a positive way.